Is Jon Jones the savior of the heavyweight division, right? I mean, when you do look at the most coveted weight class in combat, it is the heavyweights, period. And when we look at that, we got a bunch of really good fighters with very few stars. I mean, who are we really excited about at heavyweight that isn't named Stipe or Francis Ngannou? People love Derek Lewis. Are they excited about Derek Lewis and his chances to possibly overtake Ngannou or Stipe for a championship? Just asking the question. Curtis Blades is a straight up badass that for some reason you guys are not given a chance to. I don't know what I see it with Curtis. I actually see a young, charming guy. He's a little negative at times, but he's more than willing to go out there and compete, and he keeps on getting better. He's tall, he's lanky, I'm just saying, but for some reason he's not quite getting over. So is Jon Jones the savior? I mean, that would really make for some interesting parody. Right? One of the problems that Ngannou has is he's cleaned everybody out along the way. Right? You've got Overeem up there who's always going to be a stud, but we've seen that fight. Or even Ngannou versus the Black Beast, Derek Lewis. We saw that fight at Laid an Egg. Could we see that fight again and we would look forward to? Okay, sure. We need a little bit of a sell, but it could be done. So when you look at Jon Jones coming up, it is a very exciting time. The problem I run into with Jon Jones is I can only take him at his word. I don't have anything else, and all the while I know his word isn't worth a damn. So his word right now is he's going up to heavyweight, and he's going to gain weight to do it. His word, that was 3 weeks ago. 1 week ago, it was that he was going to go back down to 205 pounds and take on Jan Blachowicz. It just appears to be one of these things where once Jon makes the commitment to heavyweight, should things go the way that Jon wants them to go, which is going to power lift and he's going to put on some weight and get up in the 230, 234 range, he's not going to be able to return to light heavyweight. But has that happened yet? I can tell you as a guy who is trying to gain weight, gaining weight is more difficult, believe this or not, than losing weight. It is more difficult. Having that calorie consumption and those heavy lifts, it's different, and you're equally as uncomfortable, but in a different way than if you were in calorie deprivation. I share this with you because how long will it take Jon to be the size of a heavyweight as he has envisioned in his mind? I'll tell you the answer to that. It's going to take him however long he has. If they give him a contract for June of next year, opposite fill in the blank, it will take him until June of next year, right? He's not just going to gain that weight until he has to gain it, whatever weight he can gain before that fight, whatever weight he's going to gain. And that answer might be nothing. It's very difficult to gain weight. Good weight. And he's not Mr. Disciplined anyway. So now I also take Jon at his word very much. And this one I'm strong on. I think he's really being candid with. This is about the money. This is no longer about competing. This is no longer about winning championships. And I think that was very relevant and he was sincere. Whether you like that or not, I think that he was sincere when he gave up a world title. I worked my whole life to be a world champion. I could never imagine giving it away. Now, if you're George St. Pierre, you're Lennox Lewis, you're right off in the side. Okay, that's a totally different story than staying in the sport, staying active, and just saying, leave that behind, let somebody else. I just couldn't imagine doing it. But his level of success is also something that's very hard to put yourself in those shoes. When Jon Jones says this is about the money, okay, you have the right to your reason and your motivation. He's made his very clear. But when you want to talk about the money and the money fight, there is not even a maybe. It's Adesanya, which again sends him back this way as a weight-wise as opposed to going this way. You also have an available date of December 12th. That would be a mega fight. I would go as far as to say that is the biggest fight you could put on in the sport right now. And I would have told you just a minute ago that was GSP versus Khabib. But it's one of those two. That is how big, the biggest fight you could put on in the entire industry. Any promotion, across the board, any way you want to do it. Adesanya versus Jones. And that's not going to be true forever. That's going to be true for a shorter period of time than you might think. By example, once Jon goes up to heavyweight, does get to that 234, 233, he's not coming back. Adesanya is not big enough to go up. I only bring this to you because December 12th, the UFC has an ace up their sleeve. Now, whether they're able to pull it off or not, we'll see. But they have a solid card. But they like to end the year in a certain way. They currently have Amanda Nunes on that card. She's going to take on Megan Anderson. It's on that card. They used to have Usman and Burns on that same card. They pulled that fight with two healthy, willing athletes. I do not believe that they just pulled that fight because they thought the card was strong enough. I believe they are going to make a move. Many believe that is going to be Conor and Poirier. That would make sense. That would satisfy it. And Gano has offered his services against Stipe. That would be big. That would satisfy an ace up the sleeve, right? That would satisfy. Jones versus Adesanya, particularly in the timeline that is left to promote that fight, build that fight, announce that fight, turn that fight around and have them in there. Your back is against the wall, and I am very light on that idea, but I still bring it to you because if that fight is going to happen, it needs to happen now. Once Jon Jones signs a contract at heavyweight, he's never coming back, and Adesanya is never going to go all the way up there. Commission wouldn't let him. Very relevant. Time is now. I'm light on the idea. I want to spread the rumor because the dialogue is fun, because something is going to happen on December 12th, or at least they're making an attempt to make something happen. Got a few good options. I threw out Ngannou Stipe. I threw out Conor, which is probably the lead one, Conor versus Poirier. But I think we should also consider, until somebody tells us otherwise, Adesanya versus Jones. Distant third. But let's consider it.